I'm Elisa Parker. It is the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. We have been hanging out together all weekend long, and a big thanks to our crew and our volunteers. We love this, and we've been part of the festival for at least 14 years now. It's great to connect with the environmental action heroes. Much of this requires taking a leap, taking a risk, having courage, in addition to the informational pieces, right, of knowing, in some cases, dire situations of what we need to do, and many of these situations on our planet and beyond. So I love, though, the ones that do take the leap and make this story their own. And one of them who did that is Brendan Hall, and the film is called Out There, a National Park Story. And Brendan, welcome first to Nevada City.
Thank you. So good to be here. I've heard like the coolest things about Nevada City. So
it is an amazing place. It's a vortex, and so when you get here, it might be hard to leave. Yeah. Once you're here, you realize we're out there. Everyone's connected to this town. So this is your first time then?
First time.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us about the film. It sounds extraordinary.
Thank you. Yeah, so the film is called Out There, a National Park Story. And it follows me and a friend road tripping 10,000 miles through the U.S. national parks, all to meet people along the way. So it's a big tapestry of human stories of people that have been stewards or found connection with the park system.
So you mean like a road tripping in a car or on foot?
Road tripping in a car.
Okay.
Yeah, we spent about 3-4 months in a single summer on the road in the parks, but over time the film took 7 years to finish.
7 years.
So, yeah.
That's extraordinary itself. Often when you work on a project that long, so much shifts in your own personal life. So how do you keep that relevant to the story you wanted to tell in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, my passion for the parks, it was kind of never ending. The national parks inspired me to become a documentary filmmaker, and this was always my dream project. And so having the energy to keep it going also, I think, was part of the timelessness of the park story, where the film we're trying to tell is about love and connection and healing and retelling some of the history of these parks. And that wasn't a story grounded in even a single year. So the longer I worked on it, the more we were able to try to get that story right.
That's fantastic. Yeah. What is it about the national parks? Like, what is it that prompted you to want to tell this story in the first place? And through the experiential process of being immersed in the parks.
It was their potential for human transformation and impact. It took me a single road trip and night on the edge of the Grand Canyon to transition from wanting to be a narrative filmmaker to a documentary filmmaker and tell real stories and travel. And when I realized that just one experience can change the course of your whole life in these places, I really wanted to see how that affected others as well. And I think the big message for me was that preserving land is also a preservation of space to chart these human stories. And so that was the seed of the idea.
What were some of the parks that you covered?
We do east to west across the whole country.
Wow.
So Acadia, Shenandoah, Glacier, Olympic, Mount Rainier, all the way down through the Redwoods and Yosemite. That's about half of them, but the main ones, all the way to the Channel Islands off the coast of LA.
Which of the parks that you went to holds the deepest space in your heart?
Oh, I like that. Deepest space in my heart. Glacier, I think, is really stunning. Anyone who's been there will tell you that. And it has the mountains and the lakes and grizzly bears and wildlife, but also these really important histories to tell of climate change, and then the native history of people who were displaced from some of those lands to create the park, but are still carrying forth that tradition and that spiritual tradition. And so, yeah, for me, it represents everything a park can be, of the scenery and the nature, but also this really important evolution of the American story.
And it takes a little bit of effort to get to Glacier as well. I went to Glacier, it was right during the pandemic when we just had to be outside. You weren't going inside anywhere. So we did go to some of the national parks during that time. And Glacier, it was wild because, it'd been closed off for so long. And we saw this just going on globally where animals just started showing up again in their habitat. And at Glacier, literally, in the parking lots, anywhere you're going, there were mountain goats just hanging out. They were trying to even move them along. I had never, it was such a special time to be there because the animals at that point were not afraid.
And I loved it. You know, it was a reminder that we are a part of nature. We're not separate from it.
Yes.
And we may carve a road through, but once cars stop using that road, the animals are going to come back and use it too.
Yeah.
And that's what parks are all about, you know.
So which park surprised you the most? You know, because I think there's a lot of parks that have a lot of legendary stories about them and so forth, and some that we don't even know much about. But which of them for you was like, oh, I never really thought about that? Or
Yeah, we went to Cuyahoga Valley in Ohio,
okay.
Which is a smaller park. But what I learned is it's right next to Cleveland. So you have 3 million people within an hour radius of a national park, and rangers there that have given 2 decades of their time because they really believe in the stories of that area. And it's also an entirely reclaimed park. So they took farmland that had been used already and almost rewilded it with vegetation and bought all these plots very piecemeal to create a national park. And so we don't have just these traditional parks, but these parks closer to urban areas.
Right.
And just like for us, it's all about that human commitment. So to see rangers that have devoted decades to this park that a lot of people might not even stop through was really inspiring. I think that's so cool.
Sacred place. And watching this film, what do you hope everyone takes away from this?
Yeah, I think it comes from our title, Out There. We want people to become inspired to chase what's outside of their comfort zone and know that that journey they've always wanted to take. If you get into the parks, you get into nature, whether it's your backyard or a national park, there's something for you to connect with and with people.
So we talk about wild and scenic. What's one of the wildest things that happened for you in this expedition?
Oh my goodness.
I'm sure there were several.
We've had some close encounters with some grizzly bears. And definitely, I think seeing some northern lights for the first time out in Alaska was a really moving experience for me.
Did you do this whole experience with your friend?
We did. We had this really long summer of 3-4 months, and then over the course of years, I kept filming and kept contributing footage, and so it was a long process.
That is. I mean, that in itself, just the relationship aspect too.
Yeah.
You know, what's the biggest thing as we wrap this up, Brendan, that you learned for yourself and how you show up now in the world?
Oh man, that's beautiful. Yeah, I just think that I learned that when you have a story you really want to tell and feel the need to pursue, to let that intuition drive you as much as you can. Because for me, this was a tremendous learning journey, and I don't want to give anything away, but at the end of the film, it comes very full circle, and I have some big time realizations. And I think for me, it's about following your gut and within your means and within your abilities to pursue that thing that you're really passionate about.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us here for the first time.
Yeah.
And hopefully this leads to other times and visits for you here in Nevada City. It was so great meeting you, Brendan.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. I'm Elisa Parker. Connect with stories like Brendan's and others. You can check it out at WildScenicFestival.org. And it's a pleasure being with you. And we hope this inspires you to connect with other stories that we're featuring here, not just this weekend, but beyond. Great to be with you here, and we'll be right back. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.